Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Listen, let's talk Belle Collective because Belle Collective Jackson comes back on tomorrow on OWN. And so I went back and watched the first season of Belle Collective Jackson. But what I'm going to talk about in this video, I'm going to talk about season 1, episode 1 Jackson versus season 1, episode 1 Birmingham. So if I had to choose between season 1 episode 1 Belle Collective Jackson or season 1 episode 1 Belle Collective Birmingham, Jackson takes it hands down. They came in as a collective. Now they did have a little conflict at the end of the first episode with Marie going at Treese about some hair that she said that she got from Goddess Links, or a stylist who said that the hair was from Goddess Links, which was crazy because she still wore the hair. And that was too funny and messy. But just going off of the intro alone, the Bells came in telling us about Jackson, Mississippi. They were dispelling myths about it. The show opens with, you see the state welcome sign. Then we see Tambra, and she says that Mississippi gets a bad rep. Letitia said that Jackson had come a long way and that there had been a lot of new developments in the downtown area, and they show a couple of the developments. Latrice says that Jackson has a lot of successful black businesses and a lot of self-made millionaires. Then we see Marie. She also said that there was a lot of money to be made in Jackson. Then you get the individual intro shots of the ladies. Then it goes straight to Tambra going to work at the radio station. We learned that she was born and raised in Jackson. She's an on-air radio personality at 97.7, and she gives their tagline, which is Jackson's only and best R&B station. She said her goal was to be a full-time host 24/7, and she wanted to be a national correspondent. She interviewed their mayor at the time, Mayor Lumumba. They talked about an article that stated that 50% of all women-owned businesses, which started in 2019, were led by black women. And that article also had a list of the best states for black entrepreneurs ranked 1 to 50. And Jackson came in at number 9. They also talked about Mississippi removing their state flag, which was the Confederate flag. Then they introduced us to Letitia Pearson. She shared that she was the CEO of National Women's Brunch Organization. She talked about the history of Ferry Street and her objective to buy the block back and restore the district. She gets a call from Glenn, and we learned that he was a towboater. He was gone 28 days at a time, home for 14 days. We saw Josh. She asked him if he was being good, talking about Glenn. Was he being good? Was he behaving himself? And she shared that they had gone through infidelity. Now, this within the first 5-7 minutes of the first episode. Then we meet Latrice. She says she became a self-made millionaire, and she's the owner of Goddess Links. We see her walk into the Goddess Links location with the salon on one side and the retail space on the other. She shared how she decided to put her bundles in vending machines. We saw a couple of her stylists and makeup artists, and we also met Cliff. Then we met Marie. She shared that she was the first black woman in Mississippi to provide mental health services to children, the youth, and adults. At that time, she was studying to get her PhD. Then we met Essie. They were talking about their plans to open their next facility and how it needed to be double the size because the last one filled up so fast. She shared her mom's battle with addiction, and addiction would have been the next service that they added at the facilities. And then we met Antoinette. She finished dental school at 25. She was newly single. She went to this space where she was planning to open her dental office, and we see her call her dad and talk to him about the space. And all of that happened in the first 20 minutes. They spent 20 minutes introducing us to the collective to allow us to get a feel for these women, know a little bit about them. And then it moved right into Letitia meeting up with Tambra to try and secure her as the host for her brunch, but Tambra already had, prior engagements. Antoinette and Treese met up at the Porsche dealership because Antoinette said she needed some shopping therapy after being newly divorced. Letitia was at her spot getting ready for the brunch and going over what she was going to say to the ladies when it came to presenting her plan about Ferry Street. Latrice and Antoinette were also getting ready. Marie was at her house combing out a unit, and she said that she went to Goddess Link to get the unit made. She said that the hair was dry and brittle, it had synthetic fibers in it, and she spent $600. So she decided the best thing to do was to approach Latrice at Letitia's brunch to bring up the issue with the unit. And I remember that there were a lot of opinions about that. Some people felt like Marie could have pulled Latrice to the side, or she could have taken her back and questioned the person who made it. Other people felt like since Latrice was already talking about her, her bundles to another woman who was sitting at the table, which the lady said she got from Goddess Links, then it should have been okay for Marie to bring it up. So Latrice asked Marie to give her the receipt and she'll handle it. When Letitia sits down, she touched the hair and she said it was stiff, and she asked Marie where did she get the hair from. Marie said Goddess Links. In Latrice's confessional, she says we're supposed to be here to empower each other. So why would you sit here and viciously attack me and try to tear down my brand? She said that wasn't uplifting to her, and so she no longer wanted to be there. Now when she was talking to Cliff before the brunch, she said that she loves Tisha, but she has heard too many times that instead of the women uplifting each other, they just be there attacking each other. So Latrice says that she doesn't want to be there anymore. Marie says, well, maybe you should leave. Antoinette leaves with Latrice because she said that Latrice didn't do anything for Marie to come at her like that. Latrice tells Marie that she will personally donate her some hair. Marie says, no thank you, I can buy it all. Marie called Latrice a poodle. She called Antoinette a pup. One of the ladies at the table said that Marie should apologize. Marie says, I'm not going to apologize for who I am. She came for me. And I was like, now Marie, stop. So that first episode, it was really good. Then they followed with the trailer for the first season, and the first season was good. So for me, hands down, if I'm choosing between season 1 episode 1 Jackson and season 1 episode 1 Birmingham, I'm going with Jackson. So when we talk about Belle Collective Birmingham, the first 12 minutes was all about Stormy, Canvas, and TikTok. We got a snippet of all the other ladies, and then the last part of the episode was about Stormy and Canvas. So I can understand why some people were saying they just should have named it Stormy and Friends. I feel like it could have been called Behind the Canvas, because that's really a majority of the episode. A majority of the episode was behind the canvas, because the next episode we got the live, then the rest was about a mop. But we didn't learn anything about Birmingham, or how the ladies outside of Stormy were movers and shakers in the city. It was nothing like that first episode of Jackson. And at the reunion, Carlos asked Amber, did she feel like some of the ladies suck up to Stormy? Or, he asked her something like that. And Amber said, well, the show was centered around Stormy, which still didn't make sense because Stormy is not from Birmingham. I don't even think she has a warehouse or retail space in Birmingham. People were even questioning, how did Carlos okay a show for Stormy based in Birmingham, but she couldn't be in Jackson, Belle Collective Jackson? And that's a question only Carlos can answer, child. So, was Belle Collective Birmingham good? For the most part, it was okay. And in my opinion, the only reason it held people's attention was due to all the conversations surrounding Stormy, Tiffany, and that freaking mop. If it wasn't for that, there really wouldn't be much to talk about, because we can watch Stormy on TikTok. And even though I still don't feel like Tiffany was trying to sun Stormy or humble her the way Stormy said, Stormy is... she an easy mark to me. So to get the who the F you think you talking to girl, that's light work. Stormy seems to work better with her Canvas team. So hopefully Stormy was just there to introduce Belle Collective Birmingham, and maybe Carlos would give her her own show focusing on Canvas beauty. That may be a better fit. And with that, hopefully she can bring back her hair care line, because that Moolah shampoo, that mousse, and that follicle stimulator was top tier, especially the mousse. And when Belle Collective Birmingham returns, if they get a second season, maybe we can get someone that is relatively known in Birmingham, and if not, bring back the other ladies and go from there. Hey, we didn't know any of the people of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Love and Marriage DC, or Belle Collective Jackson. But it went pretty well, until Carlos started putting too many irons in the fire and putting all of his attention on Married to Miss and Real Housewives, doing his personal interviews and stuff like that. But if you had to choose between season 1, episode 1 Jackson, and season 1, episode 1 Birmingham, who would you pick? Get down in the comments to let me know, and I'll talk to y'all later.